Hey guys, Jay-Sensei here again. Sorry I've lived so long. I've just been doing a lot of other stuff, such as I have a job, or other things like, just still adjusting to living in a state different from where I'm from. Because I'm from Washington, I'm used to rain every other day. Well, now I live in Arizona where honestly, I'm struggling with the heat every day because I enjoy walking. So I'm kind of just going through the motions of life still. But let's go on with this what if, as I'm taking it all the way back to when I first started this channel. This is going to be a part, not a movie. Well, it probably could be as long as a movie, but it's just going to be a simple part for today. Now, the story begins with the red-haired pirates at Fuchsia Village. And in this one, Uta is canon. Yes, she is canon for this what if. I'm kind of combining her fruit with the Nemo Nemu no Mi, but, toned down a bit. Where, yes, Uta can do the singing stuff, but she has basically a variety of songs and different effects with each song. She has a song called, something lullaby. Uta songs. She has 7 songs. Fleeting Lullaby. Yeah, so if Uta were to sing a lullaby using some effects I'd combined from the Nemo no Mi, she'd basically cast an actual lullaby that'd make enemies pass out as long as she's more than 10 seconds into the song. You can shut her down within those 10 seconds, the effect does not go on. So, yeah. But, yeah, so basically the backstory we see for Luffy and Uta in a little... It's filler. Uta's canon, but Shiki levels of canon, where we know she exists, but the stuff she does in the movie is not canon. So, yeah. But in that, the little filler of Luffy and Uta are kids, that's canon. Then with Ace and Sabo, Slide Uta, for Ace and Sabo, I'm not going to have them, completely, I'm going to have Luffy know them, but it's going to end at a certain point. So for Luffy and Uta leaves with Shanks, and Luffy stays with them. Garp brings from Luffy to Ace and Sabo, and then eventually Luffy trains with them. But after about 9 months, at this point Sabo's been dead for a while, Ace came to terms with it, Luffy finally, he's chilled out. Not chilled out, but he definitely, has more grit than before. Ready to Pirates by Fuchsia once again. And this time Uta's still with them. She wasn't brought to Elgia, so her fruit is not as strong. It has better effects and abilities, but the effect of the abilities is drastically dampened. So, how do I phrase this? The way I'd put it in ninja terms is having a lot of jutsu, but none are as strong as we're sending out Uzuhiko or Majestic Destroyer Flames. Oh yeah, I have Fireball, I have Phoenix Style Jutsu, I have Wind Style Gale Storm. Yeah, those are good. It's just not Majestic Fireball Jutsu, or it's not we're sending out Uzuhiko. You just have a lot of the abilities. They're not as strong as the movie scales. So yeah, I don't know why you said movie. I'm talking about Madara and Boruto. But you get the point. A lot of abilities, not as strong as the movies. That's what Uta is. Now, in return, Luffy introduces Ace to Shanks, and eventually, Shanks just kind of see Luffy and Ace, or he kind of sees himself as Roger, sees Luffy and Ace as Shanks and Buggy. And she does invite Ace to join his crew once he joins Luffy and Ace. This point, Luffy is 8, Ace is, I would say, almost 11. And 20 around winter. But eventually this does lead to Ace declining, but he encourages Luffy to go, telling him that he's hopeless right now, telling Luffy, he can throw a proper punch or double fruit, being out at sea will help you. So Ace pushes Luffy out to sea. And with Shanks' help, Luffy's able to communicate with Ace via news coup. So their relationship never really dwindles out. They just send Nusku back and forth. On the Red Hood crew, Luffy genuinely does get some unique training. Not unique, but he is trained to the extreme. Because Shanks, when I mentioned Luffy joining this one is because Shanks' morality got the better of him. Because Uta first was a diva, made them go back to the East Blue to see Luffy. She missed her best friend. But then Shanks' nostalgia, morality, all that hit him all at once, and that's why he took in Luffy. It was honestly just a good chain of events that Ace was with Luffy at that time. If Ace wasn't there, Shanks would have said no again. Now let's cover what Luffy does with the Red Haired Pirates, or what Luffy and Uta do with the Red Haired Pirates. They train Luffy hard. They train Luffy with whatever they can do. Shanks has a sword, so it's alright, yeah, Luffy, you're gonna learn how to use a sword today. So Luffy learns how to use a sword that day. Besides, hey, you're gonna learn how to snipe today. Yes, get over here. So whatever they find out Luffy wants to train, he's gonna train. But he personally excels in stuff like, hand-to-hand fighting with Bonk Punch and Monster. As Bonk Punch is the big guy with the monkey on his shoulder, as Monster is the monkey. His name is Monster the Monkey, I believe. Or it's just Monster, but yeah. But yeah, by the way, Monster is considered a senior member of the crew. Yeah, literally everyone but Rockstar is a senior member. Well, Rockstar and whatever that baboon thing was, I think. Was it a baboon? It looked like one of those, it looked like a human drill. That's what it looked like. But yeah, so aside from that, Luffy and Uta train with basically the entire crew, day in and day out, because that's what they want Luffy to do. They all heard Ace tell Luffy, you can't even throw a proper punch yet. That is a liability. But Luffy does excel with training with Bonk Punch and Monster, because while Monster is a monkey, and he's a lot like Luffy in terms of actions and attitude, a Bonk Punch is a hand-to-hand fighter. He is pure hands. That is what Luffy is. So Bonk Punch teaches Luffy how to fight. The rest of the crew members could probably fight too, but not as well as Bonk Punch, who's a sole hand-to-hand combatant. They appreciate they all not evenly. They're definitely not as strong as each other. They probably go Shanks, Beckman, Lucky Roo, tied with Yasop, probably Howling Gabe, then Bonk Punch, then Lime Juice, Building Snake, Hongo, Rockstar, the human drill thing. That's kind of how I view the ranking of the crew. So, yeah. But yeah, so Luffy basically excels training with Bonk Punch, who's a hand-to-hand fighter. Because in hand-to-hand combat, I'd probably say it'd be Bonk Punch, Howling Gabe, probably Beckman, then Lucky Roo. Those are the big four. 5 would probably be Building Snake. They're hard to be hand-to-hand fighter with one arm, so I don't think Shanks is doing anything there. He might be able to grab you and throw you hard as shit, but in terms of actual skill, he's not going to do much. I'm going to be honest, I don't see him doing much. Because he's physically probably the weakest on his crew, aside from Yasop, Lime Juice, and Hongo. And Rockstar. But yeah. There's 3 exceptions to his physical strength. So, Luffy does have to adjust to certain people when he trains. Now, here's the thing though, because there's this technique that Luffy could possibly learn from the crew. But the thing is, Howling Gabe, or Gab, I'm saying Gabe, he can shoot, air blades from his mouth. There's a non-canon, Screaming Fruit. If that's just an ability Gabe has, Luffy would 100% want to learn it. So let's say for this, what if it is? Instead of it being blades for Luffy, it's literally just him blowing out compressed air like a cannon. Because I'm honestly doubting Oda would give, I think it was from the first movie. It's I want to say Goro. It's not Goro. That's a no. Goro's paper. Goe. Yeah, Goe with me. That's the Scream Fruit. I You have to pull it up. I was still on Gabe's page trying to think of it. Fuck yeah. I still got it. So, Luffy, while learning how to fight, would also end up picking up how to basically just blast compressed air from his mouth. That's basically just a giant cannonball. And Uta can kind of do a similar thing, but only as she sings. She doesn't blow it out, she just creates balls of air that fire off. As before, she has a lot of abilities, but she can't go Uta world levels of abilities. But yeah. Pause real quick. Now, over the years, Luffy and Uta blended into the background, where they weren't like main combatants, but they were more like the Blackbeards of the crew. Where Luffy and Uta, they watched the Red-Haired Pirates fight Loki. They've been to Elbaf. They've met Crocus and Laboon. They've met Crocus and Laboon. They've met Rayleigh and Shocky. They've met all the giants. They met Dory and Brocky. They basically went from the East Blue through Paradise. They went on the same route as the Straw Hats. They've been to almost every island. Well, they've seen every. I haven't been to one, but they've seen every island. Basically, from what they've been to. So they started at Fuchsia. They go around for a bit. Luffy sees Shellstown. They see Orangetown. They see Sir Village. He also points out this is his home village. When they head over, Baratie stop by for a quick bite. They meet Sanji. They keep it moving. They notice Kokoyashi. And with that, Logtown, stop by, shopping, eat, leave. Head over Reverse Mountain. And they don't go to Whiskey Peak, but they meet Crocus and Laboon there before that. So then, after they go past Whiskey Peak, they head a Little Garden, meet Dory and Brocky. Keep going, see Drum Island, see Alabasta. They're still going. But then, Jaya, stop by, relax, eat, drink, dip. Then, next up, No Skypia, Water 7, stop by. Make sure the ship is good quality, keep it going. That's how Luffy meets Galila. Then they keep going, head through the Florian Triangle. That's where they meet Rayleigh and Shocky at Sabaody. Luffy gets to know them, finds them pretty cool, gets to know about Sabaody, and he learns that, not he learns, but everyone notices that he has a little bit of a liberator in him, because he hates the Yakusha with a burning passion. After that, they keep going, fish from an island, they find it cool, they keep it moving, head to the New World. They don't stop by Punk Hazard. They go stop by another winter island randomly for a little bit, hang out there. They then continue to keep it pushing. As they keep it pushing, they eventually would come across Elbaf. They go there. But on their way there, they defeat Loki. Luffy wasn't like central to the fight, but he was definitely just there, and would also unlock conquerors in this fight. Because honestly, he was just so stressed out and terrified. So those conquerors in this fight act to surprise everyone around him, including Uta and Shanks and Loki. But eventually, Loki's defeated, head up on an Elbaf, or chained up, and then the crew leaves. They keep traveling. About 2 years, not 2 years, but at this point, Luffy is probably around 9. By the time their travels are not going full circle, but they're like keeping up together. Actually, when they would meet Loki, Luffy would be 13, and Uta would be 15. So 2 years after they meet Loki, Uta's 17, Luffy's 15, and Luffy's a bit bigger. Not like, oh no, he's a guard. No, he's probably the same size as Shanks. He's like 6'5". On my what ifs, I kind of have Luffy change depending on what like environment he's in and how he acts. Like with the Devil Fruit, I'd give him the build of that Devil Fruit user because it works for that user, but Luffy still has to be Luffy, so he's gonna use it differently, but he's not the build of the user. This one, because Luffy's social chameleon, in the future will look like Shanks. Luffy's on the Shanks path early. Like, he's on the path to be like Shanks right now. He looks like him, but he has the same build as him. He acts like him. All that. So, yeah. This one, they're on the random winter island hanging out. Luffy just standing by a fire with a monster on his chest, doing random things like, clapping his hands, messing with Uta, all that. But Uta is just singing and cooking. But then a ship stops by and confronts them. They're ready for a fight until Ace lifts the straw hat and Luffy sees it's his brother. Luffy decided to happy reunite with Ace, and they spend an entire week on the island catching up. as if they knew it in person and not over Newsku. But then, eventually Ace does leave, and Luffy has a conclusion that he wants to, stop his journey, or start his journey by himself in the East Blue. So after a few more months, Luffy trying to turn 16, and then on his 17th birthday, dinghy by himself with Uta. Well, dinghy with Uta, no, they're by themselves now. The Red Pirates are in the East Blue. We know they are. By the time of being in the series, they are in the East Blue, or at least near the Grand Line section of the South Blue and East Blue Convergence. They're near there, but Luffy arrived on Fuchsia for his 17th birthday, where he would see off Makino, see off Dadan, and they're happy that Luffy came back to set sail. They already knew Uta, but eventually they set sail, and still is caught in a whirlpool, and when it's caught in a barrel, Uta is just sitting on the barrel while Luffy is inside of it. But eventually, when they're pulled aboard the Alvida pirate ship, Alvida is basically takes Uta hostage, so she opens what's in the barrel. But then, once Luffy punches his way out, he would grab Alvida by the face and just throw her as far as he can into the horizon. Because Luffy is physically much more dominant. He is bigger, he is stronger, he is more vicious. He was trained by an insane-looking person and a monkey when it came to fist fighting. That is not going to go well. So Luffy fights basically how, not like a monkey, but probably with as much ferocity as an actual gorilla and chimp would have if they were trained fighters. And he's mixing his Gomuno abilities pretty well. I'm going to go over the skills that they would learn at the hands of the Red Pirates. First, weapons. Luffy and Uta, they're not weapon users. Actually, Uta is. She's a polearm user. And she learned that from Hongo. But if Luffy were to need to pick up a staff, a spear, a sword, a pistol, or a rifle, he'd know how to use them with pretty decent efficiency. He's not a master, but he's definitely an expert. Lucky Roo. Lucky Roo and Yasop kind of both helped him with observation hockey training. Shanks didn't really focus on observation with Luffy. He thought that was a little too advanced. But Lucky Roo also helped Luffy with speed, as he also catch Luffy off guard, just being funny about it. Actually, did actually help Luffy train his observation hockey, yes. He had to keep track of Lucky Roo, but also keep up with him. Luffy was also just very fast. In fact, Luffy knows Soru. So yeah. By the way, Luffy doesn't know gears 1 through 3. He does know 4, but armament hockey isn't strong enough to maintain it properly. Yeah. Then, lime juice. Lime juice isn't really like a certain role in the crew. He's kind of just a guy who's there. But yeah, lime juice is like the one who taught Uta, Luffy, Lime juice and Hongo are the ones who taught Luffy and Uta how to use polearms and staffs. That's basically who he was. He's kind of just a combatant of the Red Pirates, as well, from what we know. And Bonk Punch, a senior member. He's the one who taught Luffy how to fist fight. Uta too, but Bonk Punch, the only person who he actually hit was Luffy. In Monster, he's one of Luffy's preferred teachers, as they are very similar. Building Snake, he's a navigator of the pirate crew, but also taught Luffy and Nami how to navigate should they need to. They're not as good as Nami, but they can definitely fill in as navigators should they need to. I don't know how to get from here to here. Well, they know how to read a map and how to read basic weather patterns. They'd sail. They're fine. And he's also the one who taught them how to use katanas. Shanks taught them how to use sabers. There's Building Snake was katanas. So, yeah. That's how Luffy had to juggle. It's a pretty fun thing. Hongo, he's the doctor of Red Pirates, but also taught Luffy and Uta how to do basic medical care. Hey, I'm poisoned. They learn how to identify how they're poisoned and basically how to prevent it. Breathing, vomiting, things like that. So basically, they're not master doctors, but they know basic first aid, how to treat themselves, and how to administer basic first aid to others. As well as, venom, anti-venom, toxins, smart things like that. And then Howling Gabe, he's not really, he's basically just probably one of the stronger combatants of the Red Pirate crew, aside from Beckman. But yeah, he's the one who taught Luffy, the whole mouth blast thing. Rather Gabe fires off, slicing air. Luffy fires off just a giant ball of compressed air. And it can blow apart ships pretty easily, actually. In fact, it can blow chunks off mountains. And Beckman was overall just sniping, but also teaching Luffy how to use a gun as a club, which Luffy often does for fun, calling it Beckman style. That's all we know from the Red-Haired Pirate crew. Rockstar did not teach them this thing. Rockstar is a new member that controlled him most of the time. He was Luffy's errand boy. But yeah, so Luffy gets out the barrel, throws Alvida into the horizon, grabs from the members' guns, and uses his Beckman style to beat down everyone with the gun as a club. He's not as elegant as Beckman is, but he's not as elegant or skilled, but he's definitely pretty efficient, which Beckman would commend him for. Now, Uta just pulls the staff out of her pocket and beats on everyone as it's electrified as well. A little trick from Lime Juice. Eventually, they clear out the entire crew, seeing one boy hiding behind barrels, cowering, crying, whimpering, and they meet Kobe. Luffy grabs it, commandeers Alvida's ship, throwing her crew members out to sea, steers it over to Shellstown, with Uta helping him navigate. And when they get there, well, they are confronted by the Marines because they're driving a pirate ship, but Kobe holds in at first, telling them they should commandeer it from a pirate crew who was taking them hostage. So with that, the Marines do kind of investigate them for a little bit. But I'm going to take more of a live-action route here. And once the investigation is over, they head over to a bar. This bar, there's Zoro. But Luffy's you can see a dead body in the sack Zoro had with him. And walks over asking Zoro if he's a bounty hunter. Zoro said, yeah. Luffy just says, if I told you, I knew where a 4 billion berry pirate was in the East Blue. Zoro's eyebrows just raised, saying, and who might that be? And Luffy holds up a picture of red-haired Shanks, saying, if I told you, I know where he is. And here's one of the best tricks Luffy learned from Shanks and the red-haired pirates, as well as Uta. It's a trick that Uta learned as well. That trick, information gathering. Red pirates are smart. They have subordinate crews. Luffy knows the subordinate crews. In fact, he knows a lot of random pirates, because he's also friends with people at the Bratzier. He talks to them, and he's allied with Ace. Luffy specifically is allied with Ace, like he's a specific ally of Ace, who's a pirate. Luffy has been a pirate for years, he's had no bounty. So Luffy does have his own information network. He was taught how to establish one. Uda's is bigger, she's more likable. So Luffy is aware of who Zoro is. He's well aware of who's in the East Blue and who he wants in his crew. He's aware of multiple people. Like, honestly, the only person who's probably not on his radar in the East Blue is Nami. That's probably it. Nami's the only person who's not on his radar. That's about it. So, back to Zoro. Zoro sees Luffy holding the bounty potion and asks him, well, are you sure he's in the East Blue? He says, yeah, I'm on his crew. And he says he's an apprentice. Luffy, not believing him, thinking he's wasting his time. But as Zoro's shocked, Luffy chops a blade at one finger, and that finger, well, Haki's invisible to Zoro. While Luffy's just using arm Haki with one finger. He inflicts Wado Ichimonji into the wall. And thinking of the scene from Puss in Boots' The Last Wish. Luffy is deaf, Zoro is puss. Luffy going in the bar. Slow, sloppy, sad. Before hurting Zoro, slamming his head through the bar. He tells Zoro, I'll give you one round. Beat me in that one round, and I'll show you where he is. I'll lead you to him. But if I win, I want you on my pirate crew. Zoro tried to refuse, but Luffy just simply asked. His entire crew, they're pretty powerful because they all have bounties within 100 million to billion range. Are they missing tens of billions of berries? He's in a fight, or are you missing tens of billions of berries? Because you're being a coward, or are you going to pick those swords up and fight me? Zoro, tempted to buy money and Luffy hitting his pride, hops up and manages to fight him immediately. And Luffy is pretty easily just fight, but he's boxing with Zoro. And Helpo, because I'm taking from live action, walks in mid-fight. He's not the one who causes the bar fight in this one. No, he's just watching it happen. But eventually, as Zoro tried to execute an Onigiri, Luffy goes Gear 2, uses Soru, finds Zoro, kicks him in the back of the head, full force, knocking him right out. Uta just said, "You should fight him fairly." He just says, "I told him I was a pirate, but made him think there'd be fairness in it." And Luffy does have the same ideas like Shanks. He's a pirate, why would he fight fair? Also, keep in mind, Luffy's the same as Shanks. Luffy's like 6'5" and 240 pounds of pure muscle. And he can kick Zoro in the back of the head at Mach speeds. Zoro's down for hours. When I was very durable Zoro is, he's not getting up for a while. Hello points out at Luffy, asking to know who he is. Luffy in response, pulls out Flintlock from his pocket, as he has him with him. Idea if he has something not like Yaru, shoots Hello right in the leg. Hello yelps as Luffy got his gun from his hand, twirling around, firing at all the Marines behind him. And he does hit a lot of them. He doesn't kill them, but he hits them on the shoulder, the side, not vital areas, but spots just definitely didn't feel it for a few days. Well, Usopp just sighs, pulls out her staff, turns on the electricity, and beats down everyone who was already weakened because of being shot. Kobe just cowers. While all the violence attracts Morgan, who comes down and wonders what's going on. Later sees Luffy picking up Zoro, dragging him away. Morgan thinks he's a pirate ship. Luffy did take Uta's ship. No, Alvida's ship. He thinks they're pirates and goes to chop down Luffy's head. Luffy, with an instant, will draw out one Shimoji from Zoro's sheath, coat it in haki, and block Morgan's axe, the axe shattering upon impact. Luffy controls it around, and with one quick slash, sends Morgan flying back with a haki wave, or with an air slash, that's coated in haki. Leaving Morgan into his base with a loud crash, and a giant gash through his chest, taking him out right then and there. And that is Shellstown. That is it. Luffy beats Zoro in a fight, took him on his crew, say goodbye to Kobe, they leave. They're still using Alvida's ship, but they just took the Jolly Roger down. But they sail to the next island, being Orangetown, where here they meet Nami. And here, we're going back to the anime, and honestly, I don't see it being any different, aside from like when Nami tries to sell out Luffy. He says, "Oh, you're trying to sell me out. That's why your aura is so weird." Putting his observation haki, her aura looked weird to him. But Uzi just smirked and said, "Oh yeah, cat burglars always have a weird feel to them." Uta from above swings down her staff, coated in armament haki, sending electricity everywhere. Luffy and Uta look at Buggy, and they focus on his looks for a bit. Mainly Uta. Buggy is weirded out, "Why are you staring at me?" But she says, "You're Buggy." He says, "Wait, Buggy?" As in, from Shanks' stories. But he's like, "But you know Shanks?" He's like, "Oh yeah, we're his apprentices. We're on his crew." Now, Buggy's probably aware Shanks is a Yonko, but it's just like for Shanks, probably trumps his fear. So, a bit angered, he starts going off on how Shanks made him devil fruit user and all that. A fight starts once more. But honestly, it's not worth much. Because Zoro soon arrives after Luffy and Uta, because he's slower than them both drastically, and helps them fight against Buggy's crew. And when he sees how drastically different they are. As Luffy is basically releasing pure and illicit fury, as he would use a new technique that he calls Gomu Gomu no Pounce. He leaps forward, shooting his arms out, in the form of a grab, slipping into one of the members' chests, shooting in their skin and shirt with just pure grip strength, and shoving them down through a building with pure brute force. Then, Luffy sends them to a flying top of them with pure momentum, taking them out with a giant crater. So yeah, he basically punches on them, but draws it out with pure force. But Buggy's still beat in the same way as Cannon, just a lot easier and faster. He also never stabs a straw hat. Luffy would not let it happen. He has observation haki. It's not going to happen in Buggy's wildest dreams. Now, Nami heads along once more. They end up meeting the villagers of Orangetown eventually. And Nami becomes a proper navigator as they get to Sura Village. So the village ends up selling Alvida ship to the shipwright company for a few billion, for few million berries. Because, We meet Usopp. This is taking more from live action, so. But eventually comes down to Kuro, and combine the set for live action with the plot of the anime. That's how it goes, or anime and manga. That's how it goes. So soon, once it gets down to Django and Kuro meeting, or Clawhador, now known as Kuro meeting, when the whole cliff falls, Luffy just avoids it. He can pretty easily do that. He's fast, he has observation hockey. There's no world where he falls for that barrier. No barrier. Falls for the cliff falling. So he jumps back. Kuro and Django continue the conversation. And Luffy continues to watch and listen with Usopp. So with that, Usopp begins setting traps. And Luffy tells the crew where to go once they need to, get the fight started. So the next day, once the pirate crews arrive, everyone is here on time. Nami doesn't even try to trick Zoro. She knows that Luffy is strong and will probably go grab Zoro himself. So there's really nowhere where she'd leave Zoro for dead. She'd drag him along. Now when the crew eventually all arrives, we come to the captain, by the way. Uta knows for a fact Luffy is the captain. She honestly has no will to lead or command the crew at all. That's not her thing. He's charismatic, sure. In terms of leadership qualities, none. She's charismatic and ambitious. Luffy has genuine leadership abilities. Uta may seem like she does, she just doesn't. But yeah, so Kuro would eventually start the fight against Luffy, but Luffy proves to be much faster. Luffy can use Soru, he can use it properly. But Luffy's first attack is just a shockwave. He inhales, blows it out, and it tears through Kuro's crew, who, like a hot knife through butter, and then their ship is blown to pieces. Kuro's terrified, and in the midst of his terror, he's blitzed by Soru, and decked right in the face, being sent flying. He recovers, then he's met with a pistol from above, down the back. Vice Kuro's on the ground, whimpering, just not crying, but he's struggling to move. Luffy begins basically flipping through the air, and he feels no ape bash. Where he basically has a double axe handle, or just like a Donkey Kong bash on Kuro's head. With that, he defeats Kuro in about 3-4 moves. It wasn't really a long fight. He is better than Kuro in every way, but intelligence. Now with the Miyabi brothers. When one of them wants to cut Zoro, Uta instead would reach out with her staff, and rise her blade would touch him. Here is met by her staff instead, and because their claws are metal and Uta's staff is electric, they shock themselves. Badly. Zoro thanks Uta swinging his sword, cutting the Miyabi brother's head right off. Zoro is a killer. Do not forget that. He killed people for a living before he met Luffy. So, with one Miyabi brother dead, the next one was actually genuinely terrified. But then Zoro grabbed him by the face, climbed him to the cliffside, pushed her around, shoved him through his chest. That ends the fight. Both my brothers are dead, and Zoro's uninjured. As for the fodder, Nami and Usopp have been doing that work the entire time. It's just fodder. Plus Luffy took out a majority of the fodder, without really much effort. Next stop, Baratie. Intentionally, Luffy does want to get someone in his crew. But they do something about the Islander animals to meet Gaimon. On the way there, though, they do meet Johnny and Yosuke. And that's where Luffy gets crew members. He tells Johnny Yosuke he let anyone on his crew if they can pull their weight and fight. He doesn't care if the weak or strong, as long as they're willing to try to pull as much weight as they can be around as long as they want to. Johnny and Yosuke actually like that, and they agree to join Luffy. And not only is Johnny surprised, Luffy does not care if you're weak, if you're strong. If you can just make sure to pull your own weight, you're welcome on his crew. So with this, at the Baratie, Luffy meets Sanji. Sanji see Luffy and Uta again, mostly Uta. And the crew has money now, so they're able to actually pay for their food. But eventually when Krieg arrives, the whole Gin and Krieg thing goes the exact same, don't see any differences. But when Krieg enters the bar, not the bar, the Baratie, Luffy tries to talk him down into leaving, just trying to pull Shanks. When he refuses, Luffy grabs Krieg by the armor, hold him in place, and rip the front plate right off. And right then there, every chef aiming guns opens fire, because his armor is exposing the most vulnerable part of his body, his chest. So Krieg is gunned down right then and there. Krieg is dead. Pearl tries to attack Luffy first, but then he's instead with a kick to the face from Sanji, and that fight leads outside. Gin is still cornered, but Uta pinned him down with her staff as she's physically not as strong as Luffy, but she's up there, like she's probably as good as Zoro is. Uta looks frail, one thing is she's a glass cannon. She may not be physically strong, well, not physically strong, she may not be physically durable, but her strength and speed are on another level. She pretty easily holds Gin down. And Nami means helping Usopp to work on the fodder, while joining us to do the same thing. But Luffy goes dum in a balloon, and handles as much as he can, getting wider and wider. Then he exhales one giant blast of compressed air. Zoro, who's helping Sanji fight Pearl, kicks Pearl right in the way of the blast, and Pearl's engulfed in it, as well as most of Krieg's ships, like the Dreadnought Saber. When the blast clears, Luffy's gasping for air, but every pirate in his wake is either dead, sent flying, or, in Pearl's case, missing in action. They don't see blood, they just can't find Pearl. So, yeah, that ends it. When Mihawk arrives, that fight with Zoro ensues, yada yada yada. Nami still steals the ship, but Luffy, not as mad, or not. I don't think he even was mad. I think he was just like, there's my ship, there's a navigator, time to get them both back. Luffy's more curious, like, why'd she take my ship? Because she could have just asked. And they make their way all the way to Orangetown. No, Orangetown, sorry, Kokuyashi. Fuck. Make their way to Kokuyashi. Sanji in tow, and when they get there, they meet Momu. Luffy uses Conquerors, taming Nomu right then and there. Momu right then and there. That kind of just ends that whole encounter. Back even when they encounter 100 fishermen, Luffy used Conqueror's Haki, just taking them out right then and there. Now, when Zoro went to Arlong Park, Luffy kept an eye on Zoro with Observation Haki. So when Zoro was captured, Sanji invades right then and there, telling Sanji where to go. Well, once Arlong holding up Zoro by the neck, just looking at his scars, he is met with a full force kick to the jaw from Sanji. Inosuke were sent after Sanji as well, and when Kirby and Chu go to grab, Sanji, after he landed from his kick, Chu is met with two swords, impaling him through the chest. Chu coughed up blood, as he collapsed from, being impaled through the chest twice. That led to Kirby spinning around in pure confusion, but Zoro, getting his bearings and swinging his sword around, cutting Kirby's arm right off. Kirby yelled, then Arlong, seeing his crew in distress, went to grab Zoro, his first one he saw. The arm was kicked away, while Yosuke and Johnny both slashed at Arlong's body, cutting him up even more badly, or even worse. So yeah, it's kind of just, it was like, Hachi is probably coming right now, but he's not there yet. But when he does arrive, Arlong's fighting, the four, as Kirby's arm is missing and he bled out. Chu is just dead, and every fisherman is knocked out because of Zoro. Hachi tries to join in, but Zoro would just take Johnny Yosuke's sword to pretty easily dispatch Hachi, and then the fight resumes. And they don't defeat Arlong by themselves, but they stall long enough for Luffy to arrive. And Arlong thinks, oh, the captain, how? And he finishes his sentence before Luffy pulls out a rifle, blows Arlong's brains out, and that ends the fight. Luffy's not here for a fair fight. He's here to get Nami, get his ship, and leave. That is it. He wants Nami, he wants his ship, he wants to leave. He's not here because he wants to be. That kind of ends everything. Kokuyashi villagers arrive in pure shock that Arlong is dead. But the fishermen eventually will wake up as Nezumi arrives, and Nezumi is also terrified. Nami tells Nezumi what he did, taking all 3 million berries from her, or 100 million berries. Luffy just quick burst Conqueror's Haki, takes them all out, takes the money back, and Pudding, having not been killed in this AU, will just arrest everyone. Luffy and the Strats are hidden, except for Nami, who's just quoted as a villager of the island. So they're arrested, they eventually, get him to impale down. So with this kind of just ends Arlong Park Arc Day 1. So that Nami and Luffy eventually, solidify. Like Luffy's like, I want you as my navigator. Nami agrees. Luffy gets to go with Mary back, and they set sail. But now Luffy's crew consists of Luffy himself as the captain, Uta as the vice captain and musician, Zoro as a swordsman, Nami as navigator, Sop as a sniper, Johnny Yosuke as fisherman, Sanji as the chef. Now for the final person Luffy wants from the East Blue. Yes, he has one more person who wants from the East Blue. We've actually been talking to the person frequently via Newsku. And when he gets to Logtown, that person is Bartolomeo. Bartolomeo's already not happy to see Luffy because he thinks he's some arrogant brat. But Luffy and Bartolomeo know each other. Luffy ends up fighting Smoker. Actually, defeats Smoker pretty handedly, which doesn't surprise Bartolomeo, as he can't beat Smoker, he can only hold him off. But Luffy, now having army hockey, defeated Smoker. Not easily, but he's never fought Logia before, so that's why that's not easy. If Luffy had experience, it would have been probably an easy walk in the park if he had to remember what kind of fruit Smoker had. But eventually, Bartolomeo does find Luffy enjoyable, so they have a bet if Luffy can get Bartolomeo to join his crew. A drinking contest at Gold Roger's bar. They drink their brains out, bond, become friends, win the contest, and Bartolomeo agrees to join Luffy. That's essentially how it goes. So storyline the same with Tashigi and the swords like Ippomatsu, all that. Sanji with the cooking contest. Usopp and Daddy Masterson. Johnny Yosuke just buy new fishing rods, and Uta just buys some new speakers. That's about it. But yeah, Luffy doesn't meet Dragon here. He doesn't. He doesn't need to. He defeated Smoker in like the first 5 minutes of their fight. He's just like, oh yeah, Logias. Here's how that works. Then I'm gonna hockey hit to the face and a fight. But yeah, it's basically ends the East Blue. It's not a very long arc. The longest part is me just explaining their abilities because of why it would go by so fast. Luffy will not fight fair, but he will fight for enjoyment. If he finds no enjoyment in fighting you, he will just kill you. That's how he was trained. Uta, honestly, she's a pretty skilled combatant, but she kind of reluctantly fights. She's willing to sit on the side and play music. But yeah, this just ends this part. If you guys enjoyed, like subscribe for part 2. Adios.